Okay, so I start the presentation where we left yesterday. Good morning to everyone. So today we are again starting the portion which we could not cover in the last invited lecture. And in that lecture, we were actually discussing about functions. And when we were talking about functions, so we discussed about what is the need of functions, why do we implement functions, what type of functionality or what type of benefit functions are given to us. That was not related to specifically about programming language C. It is for everything. If all programming languages, the concept of functions remains the same, only the implementation changes. So when we were discussing about functions, so we basically discussed that there are 3-4 things related to the function in our programming language which helps us, which makes our life very easy, make our code readable, and gives us the facility so that whatever code we have written that can be reused again and again. As we discussed with a very basic example, that if you want to print 2000 numbers, and if you don't know how to use functions, so you will be actually writing things or writing statement or instructions 2000 times, and it will not look good because you are just repeating the code, and just for printing one number at a time you are writing so many words and so many characters, which doesn't look good and which is also not efficient. So what we have understood, that using the concept which we have already discussed, like iteration, conditions, conditional operations, and repetition, and incorporating those concepts with the concept of the function, we can easily print numbers after writing 3-4 line of code. So it gives us the immense power that whenever we see in our code that there is some independent work we are doing, we can take that we can take the instructions which are responsible for doing that work out from that piece of code and create our function. And when we create functions, so 5 things we need to consider or we must have in our mind. So what are those 5 things? First is that you must know for what purpose you are creating your function. And according to that purpose, you should give the name to that function. If you are trying to calculate whether the number is even or odd, then you write the name of the function accordingly, like is number even or odd, or checking number even or odd, so that the person who is reading the code can easily understand that what is the purpose of this function, for what work it has been developed and designed. After that, you need input. There may be a situation in your programming experience that sometimes you may have input to the function or sometimes you do not need input. So if you do not need input, then you can pass void or you can leave the parenthesis blank. If you have input, then you can provide the input with the data type of each input. So you can pass single input or you can pass multiple inputs to the function. Similarly, when you process the things, you write the things inside the body of the function. And then after processing, you may have 2 situations. One may be you want to return something from the function after the processing, or you want to print something inside that without returning anything. So if you are not returning anything, you can simply write void. But if you want to return something, so you have to identify what is the data type of that information which you are trying to return. And then you make sure that that is the same data type which you are writing for the return type of the function. So after completing these things, your function becomes complete, and then you can use your function in your program by using its name. So everything should be unique in your program. It cannot be like that you are creating the same name for the variable and same name for the function. So name uniqueness is important criteria. So you cannot have two same name for different two variables having same name, or two functions having same name, or one variable or one function having the same name. So that should not happen. Otherwise, the compiler will give you syntax error or compilation error, and it will not let you go further. So once this part is complete, we also discussed some experiment that you can, according to your creativity, you can write one function using return type or without return type, using input or without input. And in the same way, we also discussed about the concept of uh, global variables and the local variables. In global variables, we discussed that the scope of global variable is throughout your program, and it is available whenever you are means working. So whenever you want to take value of those variables, you can take them without passing them to the function, because they are available to each and every function in your program. But if it is local variable which is in a bounded scope defined by your curly brackets, then the variable or value of that variable can only be used within that specified block. So that is the difference between global variable and the local variable. And it is always advisable that you make local variables. Do not unnecessarily make your information global, so that sometimes what happens that uh, some problem may occur because of the over excessive misuse of the global variable in different program, which you may not know which function sometimes is doing what. Sometimes these type of problems sometimes these type of problems emerges, and you see that in that case it will become very difficult to debug and understand the program, what has gone wrong and what is to be done, how to rectify that thing. So whenever you need a variable, try to create local variable so that the scope is restricted, and you also know that up to what scope or in which block it can be accessed. After discussing that, we discussed in the last one example uh, related to that. We were trying to do a very simple experiment in which we were thinking about that when we write our program and in the function, we wanted to swap the values of two variables. So we were writing a program swap function in which we took three integers. So I again write the same program. Share the screen. So yes, so this is the same program which we were discussing in the last class. And in this program, we have written this function. Swap. And in this swap function, we are taking two variables and trying to swap the value of these two variables between each other. And we have taken value from the user of swap variables, and then before swapping we have printed those value of these variables, and after swapping we have printed the values of these two variables. But we see our expectation was that we want to print it, that value should be swapped value. Suppose I am giving 3 here and then I am giving 6 here. So now after swapping, A should have 6 value and B should have 3 value. But what is happening? It is not doing anything. It is giving us the same result even after we are swapping. So although our expectation is different, we were expecting something different result, but it is not giving us that result according to our requirement. But we think that we have done the things right. But actually there is some problem. And because of that concept, I wanted to discuss with you the concept of something else that is called pointer. So there are two things, as we have discussed in previous invited lectures also, that when you store your information in memory, you reserve one space in the memory, and depending on the data type, you also give the name to that memory location, and that is called variable name. And then using that variable name, you change the value of that memory location. If you can store different values by using assignment operator, you can take the value of that memory location by using the variable name. Like that it happens. So what is happening here, if you see it properly, then here up to this point we have taken two values from the user. After taking these two values from the user, we are printing what are the values in A and B. And after swapping, sorry, we have not called the swap function here. So let's call swap function A and B. So this way it will again give the same result. Let's 3 and then 7. So it is still giving 3 and 7 even after executing the swap function. So why is it giving? We need to understand deeply what is actually happening, so that we can know the concept which I am going to discuss further. So up to this point, everything is same as we have been discussing it before also. But when we call this swap function, what happens? That these A and B values, which we have entered 3 and 7, A value is 3 and B value is 7. These values are passed to this function swap. And when this function is called, control goes to this location. After going to this location, these values are copied in C and D. Remember this word which I am using. Value of A is copied in C and value of B is copied in D. It means there is no connection between C and A and D and B. The only thing what is happening here is that value which we are passing, that is being copied in a new variable called C, in a new variable called D. Okay, so the value are C and D are different variables, A and B are different variables. And if they are different variable, it means C and D are different memory locations, A and B are different memory locations in our memory where we are storing our data. Now, since we have now 4 variables in our memory, C and D are different, A and B are different. Okay. So what here we are doing, we are taking a temporary variable, we are creating one more separate variable, that is the temporary variable. And in temporary variable, we are passing value of C, and C contains value right now 3. So temporary value becomes 3, temp is initialized with value 3, and then in C, the value of D is assigned, and what is value of D is actually 7. So now C becomes 7, and then D, for D value of temp is assigned, which is temp is having value 3. So D becomes 3. Now value in C and D has changed. Earlier C was having value 3, now C is having value 7. D was having value 7, now D is having value 3. So you can see that swapping of the variable information has occurred inside the swap function. But after execution of the function, the control of A, B and C and D remains here only. Okay. So there is no connection of C and D except that value of A and B have been copied in C and D. Nothing more than that has happened. Whatever processing has been done, that has been done in reference to C and D, not in reference to A and B. So that's why value of A and B still remains 3 and 7. They are not changed because they are the original variables A and B, and they are the local variables. Although values have been changed in C and D, but they are not reflected back in A and B. So because of this thing, if we pass values and try to think that we want to swap values, and if we are doing like this type of swapping, then we will not be getting the desired result. Okay, so this type of work, when you are passing values to this function, is called call by value, because you have here called the function with the with copying the value only. So this type of value passing or variable passing or argument passing in your function is called call by value. Okay, but we were wanted to swap these original values and we are not able to do it. So it means there is some way of doing it and we need to understand it. So that second way of doing it is called second way, not or the first way of doing it, because in the previous one we could not do it. The second way of doing it is called call by address. So when we are saying call by address, it means we need to understand something different and we need to do things differently so that we are able to exchange these two values A and B. And for that we need to understand concept of call by reference. This calling of the function is called call by value, or we will do what we will do now, that is will be called call by reference. But before doing that, we need to understand concept of pointers, because pointer is very important concept when you are trying to do these things in your programming language. So
Hello. Hello.
yes.
Hello. Sorry to interrupt you, sir. I want to ask one thing. Sir, if instead of defining in the beginning, I define function here in the terms of AB, will be the result same?
What do you want to say? I should replace C with A.
And D with V, and I am giving the definition of these functions here, where you have right swap AB.
I am writing A and B. What else do you want?
Instead of C, it will be A.
Now I will be A. Okay.
B. Or and now bring this function here where you have written swap AB.
Means what are you asking? What is your question?
Sir, I'm saying that if instead of defining in the beginning, I define this function here where you have written swap AB. So will be the result same?
Actually, what happens? Function definition within function definition is not encouraged. Okay, and it is avoided always. So if you define like this, then also it will remain the same. It will not change the input. Reason is that these two variables are local variable to the swap function. They are not the same variable which you have defined here. Both of them are having different scope. So they are allowed.
Sir, actually, आपकी थोड़ी
Is the voice coming right now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So I am saying, although the name of these two variables is same, but they are different variables. Hello? Because yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
रजिस्टर में चाहे मैं रजिस्टर 1 डिफाइन करूं या रजिस्टर 2 डिफाइन करूं.
Hello.
हेलो.
Yes.
हेलो. सर एक्चुअली दोबारा बता दीजिए, थोड़ा वो बीच में शायद वॉइस की वजह से.
रजिस्टर का कुछ क्वेश्चन पूछा था. Okay, I'll repeat it. So what I am saying is, after your modification you have done, A and B both, they are memory locations created in the memory. A and B here, they are also created in the memory. But scope of these two variables is different from scope of these two variables. Okay, so whatever happens here, whether you write A, B, C, D, E, F, G, that will all the processing, all the anything, whatever you have done, that will remain here only. Nothing is going out of this swap function. So that's why it will not change anything. You can see the result after running the program, after doing modification as per your understanding. I hope I have answered your question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
I understand.
Any other question?
No, sir. No, sir. Not.
Okay. So now I go to the concept which I was discussing, that we want to do these things, but we are not able to do it. I hope you are understanding the difference between these two, but we have to do the swapping. So for that thing, you need to understand the concept of call by address. And to understand the concept of call by address, we need to understand the concept of pointers. So we discuss little bit means some important aspects of the pointer, because it is a very means lot of things can be done using pointers, but whatever is required to understand the concept of pointer, I want to cover that thing. And then we will again come back to this same question, how to swap our values. Okay, but before that, what we have understood with this experiment, we have to just formalize things. Okay, so you can see I have written the same program here. Sorry. Call by address we have done. And what happens in call by address, that when changes will not be reflected in the actual arguments which you are using in this case. And additionally, as I have told you that we can only return one value, but here since we are changing two values, so we have to return two values. But I am saying that C functions can only return one value, but you can return multiple values by using some important concepts. So that we are going to discuss now, and again we will come back to the same discussion here after completing little bit portion of the pointer. Okay. I hope screen is visible to everybody.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. So now we discuss about the pointers, and this presentation is the contribution of the MCA program seniors and the batchmates. So I would like to thank them and acknowledge their contribution in this. So before we discuss anything, we first discuss what we are going to discuss about the pointer. Pointer, we will discuss about what is the definition of pointer, how to define pointer, what is actually pointer. Then we will discuss pointer basics, pointer declaration, pointer, how they are used in functions, how they are used in argument, pointers relationship with the array, pointers relationship with the string. But these concepts, array and string, we haven't covered, so we will cover pointer and string when we discuss the array and string. Okay, so whatever is required, we just need to understand. So now we were facing a problem that we can have variable name only and then access the value which we have stored in memory location, represented or given name as a variable name. And we have seen that we are not able to change the values as per our expectation, exchange the values between two variables. Now, if you see what we are doing, that we are storing values in the memory and we are giving them name to that memory location, and whatever is there at that memory location, we take that memory location value using variables and then print it. This is one way of accessing the value which you have stored in memory. Now second way can be or to understand this thing, let's take this example. I have given you name in your classes or roll number in your classes. Let's take name in your classes, and by taking your name, I can identify who are you. Okay, and I can give you instructions. I can take instruction. I can give you something that you have to do this work, and I identify you, and I can access or perform functions on you. Okay, in the class as per the instructions given by the teacher. Now I see that I will not use your name, but how can I again identify you? That is the situation. I will not use your name, but still I want to identify you because I want to perform some task. I want to give you some instructions like that. So what is the way of doing that? Can anybody suggest? Hmm? Is the is your name is the only thing associated with you which can identify you, or there is any other information also which can help me to identify you? Any participant?
Class roll number, sir.
Hmm?
Class roll number.
Yes, class roll number can be other thing, or I can have your address and I can go to that address and I can say the person living or residing on this address, okay, studying in this institute, in this class, from this house, okay, I want to talk to that person. Can I identify you like that or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay. So this is the same concept which we are going to discuss. Variable name, using variable name and accessing values and doing modification, that is through your name. And by doing indirectly it, okay, and connecting to you to the same person using your address is a different thing. So what we are going to discuss with the help of pointer is that we will not use the variable type of situation. We will use the address type of situation where in memory your information is stored.
Hello.
Is this okay? So now what happens that 101 is printed. So now you have two ways of printing or accessing information or modifying information. One is the simple way of using variable, and second is the using the concept of pointers. So I write this program so that you can in better way can understand what is actually happening in real world. And I would recommend that you ask questions in between when I'm teaching this concept of function and pointer, okay, because that will help you. Otherwise if you postpone, then some confusion may come. Okay, so now we have written this program and we run. Okay, so the same thing which I was discussing, the same thing will happen. So what is happening here? It is giving us warning. Okay, so that is not a problem, but it is not an error. So our program is running. So what happens? Value of x is 101. You can see address of x is this. This is the address of the memory location where this 101 is stored. This address will change if you run this program on different machines. So this address will always change because that machine, you don't know where the space is available in the memory and where your program will run. That will be dependent on the operating system. Operating system will decide where to load your program and run your program. So that's why this address will change. Now again, value of x can also be printed using this statement, as you can see 101. So this concept of pointer is clear, that pointer is a variable which is storing address of other variable. Okay, and we can access information in memory by using two ways. One is the variable itself, or other one is the using pointers. So now again we come back and go little bit deep into our understanding of pointers. So what is actually happening here, that when you create int x, a memory space is created. When you assign value of 101, then value 101 is assigned to this memory space, and this address of this memory space in memory is 1000, just for your understanding. And after that, what happens? I am creating a p variable which is of pointer type, and since it is of pointer type, so definitely it will point to a memory location. Okay, if I remove this thing, then this is my pointer variable. This is how it is declared. But I want to point this pointer to the memory location where integer value is stored. So that's why I am writing here int. If their float value is stored, then I will write here float. If their character value is stored, then I will write here character. Okay, so this int I have created. So this is my pointer variable. It means I have created one more information or one more variable in my memory, which is of p, which is called p, and that p is having suppose 2000 address in memory. Its address is 2000. Now I am saying what, that I am assigning address of x to the p so that p can point to the address of x. So address of x is 1000, pointer address is 2000. Okay, so I am saying assign address of x to p. It means value of p variable will become 1000, because that is the meaning of this address x. Address x means address of x, which is 1000. So we are assigning value of 1000 to p, and p is a pointer variable. It means now p has created a link to the variable x. So now p here it becomes, p is a pointer pointing to integer type of value represented by x. So internally in memory this happens. So after this statement, this will be the situation that you have one variable x, you have second variable p. P is a pointer type, x is a normal variable. In normal variable you have stored 101, and the address of this normal variable is 1000. Now after this execution of this statement, you have created a link that this 1000, which is address of x, is assigned to p. So p value becomes now 1000. So p have created a link to this memory location, and p address in itself is 2000. Okay, so now you can access this location 101 using x also, or you can access this memory location using p also. So here p is called a pointer variable pointing to integer information, and specifically talking pointing to value x. Now since pointer is also variable, so you can create a double pointer also, in which one pointer can point to the next pointer. So in this case again 1 star will increase. So suppose I want to create pointer to pointer. So if I am creating pointer to pointer, it means there is one level of address storage, and then there is second level of address storage. So what happens, that when you have second level of storage, so it means you need two pointer variables then only you can reach to that particular memory location. So here you have created Q pointer which is having 3000 address, and now it is, after this statement, it is pointing to P. Okay, and then P is pointing to X. So what happens here, that you will have in Q 2000, because 2000 is the memory address of P pointer. So now after this, what happens, that Q is pointing to P. So now using Q, you can print value of P and you can also print value of X, because indirectly Q can be directed to X by using two stars. One star Q will take it to the P, and one more star will take it to the X. So using this Q variable, which is double pointer pointing to the double address, you can print both the values. So this way you can create means a sequence where pointer can point to pointer. Okay, like that. So here Q is a pointer to int, or Q is a pointer to int pointer, or Q is a pointer to int star. Int star means integer pointer. So this is the simple way of understanding these things. So this is the situation which has become after execution of these statements here. Okay, so Q is pointing to P, P is pointing to X. If I want to print a value of X using P, so I will write star P. If I want to print value of X using Q, I will write star star Q. Then it will print it. Okay, so I hope this is clear. So let's do this example so that you can understand that whatever I am talking about, that is right. I am not just explaining things without concrete evidences. Okay, so this is the variable which we have created. I am now creating one more variable int P star, and one more variable int star Q. So what is happening here? I am making sure that P is pointing to address of X, and again I am saying that Q is pointing to address of P. So this linking I have created. Okay, we can say that Q here we can see P is address. Okay. Okay, so now we see what we are doing, that we have made these arrangement to understand how double pointer work or pointer to pointer works or how a simple pointer works. So here I have this variable x and I am printing the address of x, and then let's print the address of, let's see what happens here. So I want to print value at address of x, okay, or value pointed by p using star. Value of x or value pointed by p, it is the same statement, so we can remove it. Value of p or value pointed by q, because q is the pointer to p, and value of x or value pointed by q. Here what I am doing, I am printing value of x using pointer q. Here I am printing value of p using pointer q. Here I am printing value of x using pointer p. So you can see the difference and you will see the same output. Let's run this program. What is the problem? Okay. Address. Warning it is. Value of x or value pointed by q equals to this. Okay. We run this program. We see that value of x is 101. Value of address of x is this one. And then value at address x is 101. But we are printing that value using p. So p is being printed here with the help of this statement. We are printing the same value as we were printing with p. Value of p or value pointed by q is this, because here value, okay, so here you can see that address of p is this, address of x is this p is value of this value is address of x, and this value is the value of p, which is actually the address of x. Okay, and if you want to print address of p, then you can write here address and then you can start printing it. So this way you can see that this address and this address both are different, because this is the p address and this is the x address. And similarly you can do the same thing with this q situation. I will discuss with you. There is some little bit of problem that I will discuss you later on. Okay, I will rectify it.
Sir, can we use 2 pointers for one variable?
Yeah, we can do that. I just means I will just cover it, cover all the things of the pointer, and then you ask questions related to the pointer. Then I will ask everything. Okay, means I will answer everything. So again we come to our presentation. So we have discussed that how to print the value of x, any variable, how to print address of that thing, how to assign pointer to that particular memory location, how to use pointer to point the value where pointer is pointing to, how to define the pointer, what is the data type of the pointer, how to do it using double value system. Okay, so all these things we have discussed clearly, which you can easily understand. So this is the code which we were discussing just right now. Okay. So pointer declaration, you can see these things. This is a simple variable. X is an integer variable. It means that x2 is a integer pointer or a variable pointer type of variable pointing to a integer value. Clear? So x2 is an integer, hence x2 is an integer pointer. That is the nomenclature which we use. Now, uh, so now again we come back to our same question of pointers. This one. Where we were discussing about that how to swap the two values. Okay. So in the first case, we were passing our values using call by value. Now we will do what? We will pass the address of our variables and then we will see why things are working. Now it will be able to change it. Okay. So we will write a same program of swapping two variables using pointers and addresses because both of them are interrelated. I hope this program is visible.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So
Sir, it is
just
visible.
I am just removing it. Okay. I am just making it comment. Okay. So now what is our problem? Problem is that we want to swap two values, but when we were doing call by value, we were not able to do it. So now we will use the second method in which we will go to that memory location indirectly using pointers and then try to see what happens. Okay. And then I will explain you why it is happening like this. So what is happening? I have taken two variables in my memory location. So they are there. After that, I have printed them before swap and I have printed them after swap. And here I am writing my function. So I am saying that I will use now call by reference, call by address. So I am writing a swap function. Okay. And now what happens that I will call this function swap here. Earlier I was doing what? I was doing like this. It means I was copying value of A and B here and they were being copied here in int, sorry. In these two variables C and D. Now I am saying that I will not follow this approach. I will follow value by, call by address approach. Call by address means earlier I was passing values, but now I will pass addresses. So what I am doing here that I will write here address of A and address of B. In previous case, what was the problem? Problem was that there was no relation between or no connection between A, B and C and D. So whatever was happening with C and D, there was no effect on A and B. Because of that thing, we were not able to exchange the values. But now what I am creating Okay. So what? So now this time I am doing what? I am passing address of A and passing address of B. So if I am passing address of A, I need a different type of variable here in place of C and different type of variable here in place of C, because what they are doing is the same type of variable should be here and there, otherwise there will be conflict or confusion. Here what is happening, earlier I was passing a simple variable A, so we had here simple variable C. Or if I was passing B simple variable, here I had simple variable D, so there was no mismatch in their time. Now what I am doing here is I am passing address A and address B, and here my variable still are the normal type of variable C and D. Okay, so I need to make them pointer type of variable, because only pointer type of variable can store address of the memory location. Otherwise I will get error. If you can see here, then it is giving me error. Okay, what it is saying that expected int but argument is of type integer star. So like that, these type of errors give me, this type of error compiler is giving me. So it is saying me, okay, either you change the type of these two variables or change the type of these two variables. Okay, so since we have discussed the previous case, now we are going to the second case. So we have to take address of A into some variable, and what is that type of variable in which we store addresses? What is the type of that variable? Can anybody tell me?
We can use pointer here.
Correct. Okay. So since we have to pass addresses, so we have to store addresses. And if we have to store addresses, so we need not the normal variable, but the pointer variable. So I will make this variable pointer star. Sorry. Okay. It is not printing star actually here. So I will take it from somewhere else and then print it. So here star and then again star, like that it is happening. So now I have passed two addresses A and B, and correspondingly I am storing them in variable C and in variable D. Okay, so this is right. Now temp is a variable and C is a pointer. So if I am using C, so then it will store address of, it will use address of A, not the value of A. Okay, so I need to make it star. I will make it star. I will make it star, because that is the representation of the value at memory location pointed by them. Now I have created reference to A and B using C and D, and now using C and D I am changing their values at their address. So if I am changing their address value at their address, so automatically the value pointed by A, which is outside world, okay, means representing the memory location name, will automatically changed. So the change in C and D, change done by C and D will be reflected back to A and B. Okay, if we run this program, then we will see that things are as per our expectations, 3 and 7. And now you can see that after swapping, it becomes A value is 7 and B value is . Stop this program. Run again. 3 and 7. So you can see that values have changed. They have been swapped. A value is . Why it is printing again? Okay, sorry. Here I need to make it B. It is 3 and it is 7. So you can see that value of A before swapping is 3, value of B before swapping is 7, and value after swapping becomes A becomes 7 and B becomes 3. So this way we are able to now swap values. Okay. Now I made one statement before that you cannot pass two values from the same function. But this is the way of passing more than one value from the function. Here you can see that we have not used even return type and our value of a and b has changed by using the call by address. Okay, so this is the difference between call by value and call by address. Call by address mechanism works on the address using addresses, and call by value just copy the value and do the processing. Okay, so according to your requirement in the real world, you can use both the concepts. Okay, if you do not want that any change should be reflected in the original argument, original variables of your program, then you should use call by value. If you want that original values should get modified, whatever processing you are doing inside a function, then you should pass your values as call by address. Okay, so this way, these are the two important concepts when you write function and decide in what manner you have to pass. So what you can also do, you can pass one value as a call by value, other value as a call by address, no problem at all. Okay, you can pass one as a float, other as an integer. So any combination you can do, but these two concepts will remain the same. Okay, so now we compare what is this parameter passing and then see what is happening. In call by value, values are passed and operations are performed on the local variable. Okay, there is no connection with actual argument. As we have seen that connection of, there was no connection between C, D and A and B respectively, and no change in the actual argument. Okay, if this satisfy your requirement, then you means you go for call by value. But if you want to change something, then in this case call by address, in call by address, addresses are passed, operations are performed on local variable, but those local variables are actually pointing to the original argument addresses. So there is connection between local variable and the actual pointer, actual arguments. Okay, and then that's why the change happens in the actual arguments or actual variables. So this way, this is call by value and call by reference. So call by example we have seen, this is call by address, that changes are reflected back to the actual arguments, and you can return more than one value using the concept of call by address. Okay, program and function placement, we were discussing little bit of this in the previous classes also, previous invited lecture. So what happens that we manage our functions related definition in main.c file, which we are writing, which we have seen, and when we have to provide the header file or provide two data types, or you can say the function prototype, signature of the function or declaration of the function, then we create separate file that is called header file. So in that header file we place all the things and then we use them here, and we include header file using stdio. This has include name of the header file like name.h. Okay, for a small program you don't need to include these things, you simply write everything there, and necessary files you can include. Okay, and definitions and the function prototypes you can also include there. So small program does not require, but when you're writing a large software, then a proper convention and proper coding guideline should be followed and proper way of doing it. So these are some practice questions which you can do. So this complete our function part, but function will always be discussed with string also, in array also, and with other concepts also. Okay, so when we discuss those concepts, we will be just doing that. But before that, we discuss a small concept that is called preprocessor directives.
Okay, Dr. Sachin, I think we can have a break of 10 minutes right now, or you want to continue? Yeah. So
yes, sir, we can have break, no problem.
So participants, it's a break of 10 minutes. So we will again assemble at 12:20 here in the same platform. Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Sachin. So we will continue after. Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir. Welcome, sir. phases to it, and in those several phases you have writing your program phase, then pre-processing phase, compilation phase, linker phase, loading of the program phase, and then running of that program, and you get the output. So this way it happens, and in each phase there is some things with some processing is happening which is helping our program to reach to the endpoint of its execution. So in compilation, we know that compilation process is the translation of our source code into machine level language code. But before compilation, there is one small step that is called pre-processing. And in this pre-processing, what happens and what are the things which we do under pre-processing, although it is not in our control, automatically done by the compiler. But we need to understand what are the things which we do and in what way we can also insert some information and get better result if we have little bit more command over this phase. Okay, because it is compilation before compilation phase and writing program phase, like that. So we come to this point. We have discussed similar type of example in the previous case also, that when we were discussing about the constant variables. So you can have constant literals, and then we discussed about how do you create information which will never change and you can use it repeatedly. So we used two methods there. One is called constant variable or constant keyword, which we have placed before the variable name or the data type name, and second one was use of the hash include directives, in which we were creating one variable, we were defining that variable, and we were giving some value to that variable, and then we discussed the output of that variable. So similar example we start here, and then we build up over it in our pre-processing phase what actually happens, and how we can get some benefit out of it if we have some understanding of this phase. So for example, these are some things which we can sometimes make as a, or you can say we can use them uh, as a best practice when we are writing our program. So for example, you want to use a pi value in all the programs, so you can write 22/7 or you can write 3.14. But if you give one name to it like pi, or you can give some name to some other number which you think, for example, matrix row and column, number of rows and number of columns. So you can define that in the beginning of the program, what is row and what is column, and then give them the value. Okay, so this way you can give a value to a variable, or you can say the name is given to it. It is not a variable, it is just the identifier. So whenever this name will occur in your program in the pre-processing phase, it will be replaced by the actual value. So when you write your program, you will see the variable name or the identifier name, but when this program is converted by the compiler, automatically it is converted as a variable. Okay, so program readability and understanding increases and the complexity decreases. So that is one of our aspect also when we are writing our programs. So what is happening here, that I have given you some examples that you can define height 100, number 3.14, letter 1, letter sequence ABC. So this way, if you have some information which is to be constant and which is to be used multiple times, then you can use that information by using identifiers defined by these preprocessor directives. So if we print them, then we will get these results. Okay, but these results are not like that we have declared them as a variable. They are not variables, but when you write this program, it goes to the pre-processing phase. So automatically height will be replaced by 100, number will be replaced by 3.15. So their actual Okay. So we were discussing about preprocessor. So what happens that you have a source code which you have written, and that source code is converted into expanded form. Expanded means more things are added explicitly. For example, we have included in each our program stdio.h. It is preprocessor directive because it is starting with hash. Okay. So when this code is given to the preprocessor, so preprocessor place all the information in that particular file stdio.h into your code. So your code becomes your source code plus the code of stdio.h. Okay, header file. So that becomes the new version of your file, and the new versions are deleted after the compilation. So in compilation, your source code does not go. Your source code plus the preprocessors and the other things which you have included, they goes to the compilation phase. So any code, any line or any instruction which start with hash, it is called preprocessor directives. Or preprocessor means directives given to the pre-processing of your program, and pre-processing is done by the compilation. Okay, so what happens that in preprocessor you have to define. Okay, for how to define, you have this example here that you use has define, then you here write the text, and then you here write when you are using, you will be using this text in your whole program, and this whole text will be replaced by this value which you place here when this goes to the pre-processing phase. So you decide, or you give according to the name according to your wish. One important thing which we always consider is that when you are writing or giving name to the identifier in pre-processing, then you always write everything in capital letters, and that's why we always discourage variable name in complete letters. Okay, so because that space has been reserved for pre-processing variables, although you can do it in small also, but it is always advisable that whatever are the coding guidelines and coding mechanisms and the best practices, we should always follow. So like that. So for example, if you want to make a constant and you have some value somewhere and you want to place that thing, for example, you have to print value up to 1000 in your program. So you have taken maximum limit, max equals to 1000, you have defined, and everywhere wherever you are running your loop, you are defining, you are using max, not 1000. Okay, but after 3-4 years, what happens that your requirement changes from 1000 to 1. Still so we will always use loops up to 30, and when we do this up to 30, and sometimes what happens that our central government or state government extend the limit make sure that whenever you have a simple constant which is being used everywhere, you define it as a preprocessor directive. And now suppose if our situation is that now 50 students have been assigned to one class, that value has changed, so our software needs to change. But then we don't need to change everywhere wherever we have used 30. We have to just make changes here. Max equals to, in place of 30, we will just do the 50 and it will be replaced everywhere. So that is the benefit of pre-processing phases, that whenever you make things here, then they become simple and automatically updated in whole your program. So conventionally, it is always defined in uppercase, and it is always given a separate white space is given, and then no semicolon is written here. Okay, because this is not an statement, it is not an instruction. It will be replaced before the compilation phase. So for example, we have discussed this example also of pi. So if pi is information is there, because pi is universal everywhere, so it is a constant. So we do what? We define the value of pi. So define pi equals to 3.1415. And if any information of anything we want to calculate related to the circle, then pi comes into the picture automatically. So, but where we are not here writing semicolon, or we are not terminating this instruction from semicolon. Okay, you need to remember this thing, because if you terminate it with the semicolon, the 3.1415 will be placed here and semicolon will also come. And if semicolon also comes, and then it is goes to the compilation phase, then compilation will give error. Okay, so that is the reason that we do not place any semicolon here. And when we run this program, then we see that output is radius we have entered 6.5 and circle area is 132.728378. This is our circle area. Okay, so what happens that when this code goes to the preprocessor phase, this hash include stdio.h code is also included into it, and then pi code, wherever pi it is finding in the code, it will be replaced by 3.1415. Okay, so when you are reading the code is neat and clean, and when code is actually needed for the computation purpose, then the actual value is placed there. So that is the benefit of these preprocessor directives. Okay. Otherwise, what you will do, you will write here 3.1415, and you will not know why this has been used for which purpose. Okay, although you know, but in large program it becomes very difficult when you use so many constant, that which constant is being used for which purpose. Now simple functions you can also write with the help of these functions, means these preprocessor directives. What is the benefit of these preprocessor directives? That in function, what happens that you call the function, values are transmitted, values are copied, values are processed, and then function comes again back to the control. So there is overhead. Okay, so many communication means so many things happens in between, so it becomes overhead. Okay, but to remove that overhead, if you have some small functions like finding the maximum of two numbers, okay, so you can write a simple statement there like this, and you can call this function, and it will give you the same output. Okay, so a small type of function which is not very complicated and which can be used frequently, you can write that function also, and with the help of these preprocessor directives, and they can give you the result. As you can see here, that we want to find out max of a and b, and in max a and b we have written it like using conditional operator, that if a is greater than b, then max is a, otherwise max is b. Okay, so whenever you are writing the code, you have to make sure that when this code will be replaced in the code, so what will happen. Okay, so that you need to understand. So now here you have placed this max here. Okay, and when it will be running, this code will be running. So this code before running will be placed by the actual values of a and b, which you have placed here, 3 plus 3 and 7. Okay, and then they will be calculated. So you don't need to make the function call, which becomes overhead, or this is the best way of doing without doing means multiple function calls for similar type of functions, because there is no function call happening, there is just processing happening, which is also inside this program only, inside this function only, not in a separate function where you will just do the function call, then all values will be placed there on stack, and then means processing happens, and then control will come back. So that overhead will not be here. That is the benefit. Okay, so whenever you are doing these type of things, you have to make sure that you do things in proper manner. You understand the difference between parentheses and semicolon, that how when they will be replaced in your program, whether they are creating syntax error or not, that should be clear to you. Okay, so little bit careful you have to be here when you are writing program using preprocessor directives. Now, sometimes what happens that you have a 1 lakh line of code in your program or software, and what you do, you want to debug that code, or you can say you want to replace the code with the new code, earlier code. Okay, you don't want to delete the previous code also. Okay, so then you create a conditional compilation that I do not want to touch this code, you don't need to include this code, but you include this code. Okay, or you have some problems in which you have debugged some portion of your code which is working fine. Now you want to go to the next set of code and you want to work there and understand what is the problem there. So in that case, conditional compilation comes into picture. So you can implement conditional compilation also using these preprocessor directives like syntax if, has else is, has else if, has else and if, like that. Okay, so it depends on the environment and depending on the conditions you want to use for your implementation. For example, if this condition is true, then this statement will be compiled. If this condition is true, then this statement will be compiled. Okay, so it is basically a combination of if else control statements and the preprocessor directives. So this is the example. Okay, so for example, you are writing a program for some purpose for different states, and let's take very realistic example. Corona is happening everywhere in country. All the states are affected, but some are more affected, some are less affected. So you want to identify that I want to get some information or do some processing with the data and apply the functions to get some insight from the data coming from particular states who are more, you can say, who are more affected by coronavirus. Okay, you have written some code in some header file. Okay, and you want to include those header files according to your requirement. So what you will do, you will define like this. Okay, and then you will say for Delhi it is 0, for Punjab it is 1, for Rajasthan it is 0. Since Delhi is 0, it means it will not include this header file, it will include Rajasthan header file, sorry, Punjab header file, because Punjab is 1, Punjab is true, else it will not include anything else. So this way you can do the conditional compilation, conditional inclusion of the code using preprocessor directives in your program by just placing 0 and 1 here and not modifying much code, because the code which you have written that may be used later on, so you will not delete that code because it takes a lot of time and efforts to write the code. So but you will keep that code there and you will try to reduce the time of compilation and by using a conditional compilation situation. So in debug also you can use your conditional compilation when you are identifying the problems in your program. Okay, if there are some things which you want define in particular section of the code and you want them undefined in the particular section of the code, so you that can also be done using undefined keyword or directives in your code. Using this macro you can also define it again. So a small function, these type of examples you can do. Okay, so from this side, this compilation process or compilation directives or preprocessor directives are complete. So now we come to the next concept. If you have any question, you can ask me now before starting the new topic. So we now try to do some experiment with the functions so that you can understand them in better way. Okay. So I will be discussing and give you some examples and some experiment, and I will be discussing what is the concept behind them using these functions, pointers, and all these things combined together. Okay. So in the previous class, previous lecture, okay. If I remove this thing, this is preprocessor directive, then in your standalone computer system, it may not work, but since it is online, so it may by default, it will add it. Okay, it may happen, but it will not run in your computer system. But let's see what happens here. So nothing, because I am not printing anything, so it is not giving me anything special. Okay. So our first question when we were writing this program was very simple. Can we write here void? As we have discussed, that void is written when you have processing in the function and there is nothing which you can return. Okay, then void is written, because void means you are not returning anything. So in some compilers, you will see that here void is written and get ch is written. So what happens, that void means nothing is being returned, and this get ch is used there because they create a separate screen. Their output comes in the separate screen. To stop that screen, they use this get ch to take one character out input from the user so that you can see the output. Okay, so that is the thing which you may be using. If some of you are using turbo compiler, then you will be using this thing. Okay, now return 0. So if we do void here and return 0, it means we are returning, but our function definition is saying that we are not returning anything. So there is conflict. It should give us compilation error. Okay. Might be internet problem. Void and return. Although it is printing, but in your standalone systems, if you work on the system, then it will give you definitely some warning or error that there is mismatch in what you are transmitting, means you are returning from the function, and what is the definition of the function. So basically you are returning 0, but you are returning 0, but actually your function says that it should not return anything. So there is mismatch, but since it is online version and they try to highlight, they remove these type of small problems. So that's why it is working fine here. I hope you are getting my point here. Okay, so now you can also return here. It is not necessary you will always return int here. Okay, so you can return here float value also. Okay, But again, when you run this code on your system using the compiler which I have told you, it will give you error. Okay, because here you are returning float value and you are saying here it is integer value. Clear? So you can also write float here and you can also return integer value or float value. Okay, but again, in your program which you are running on a standalone compiler system, it may flag you some warning or something like that, that main should always return integer value or should be void. It should not return float value, because what main returns is that return 0 means successful running of the program, and rest of the things which we are passing, they may be some signals representing some problem has occurred, which compiler automatically detect and send the information to the operating system or the running entity. So that happens here there. So this way you can see these experiment at home and see which one is working, which one is not working. But the explanation for each of them I have discussed with you, what may be the problem, what may not. But always the right way of doing it is this. And in programming language, one important thing is that what more experiment you do, the more concept you have to clear, more things you can do. And if you do not find anything, or you are finding that you do not get any explanation anywhere, so you can follow me on my social media accounts and you can send me the mail also. Given in my mail ID, I will try to address all your questions and give you the clear perspective why it is happening, what is the background thing which is happening here. Okay. Now, int so I am creating this value here, this function here, and this time I will take here two values, float a and float b. Sorry, int a and float b, because I want to show you that you can also pass multiple values which are of different type. Okay, so you can also here take char a. These three values we have taken. Now here we are taking these values, int first value equals to 10. Then you have, okay, float value second value equals to 12.5 and char third value equals to this. Now I am doing what? I am writing here and I will add all three. Okay, so return a plus b plus c. Printf %f first value second value first value, second value, third value. Okay, so this program we have written here. Now you can see that I have taken these three type of values here, a, b and c. Sorry, a, b and c, and I am passing these value to this function and it will give me sum, because I am adding integer and float, so maximum value is float. Okay, so character can be converted to integer and integer can be converted to float. So this will be the return here. return type is float here. Okay. So, but can integer be added to float and integer value? Let's see what happens and what is the output of this program. Some value printf add number. Okay, one more. Yes. So we are getting value 87.50. So why is it coming? Can anybody explain to me? Why 87 is coming? Okay. Somebody is trying to answer. Okay, I explain to you. We have value of integer 10. We have value of float 12. So total value becomes 22.5. But rest of the value, when we are adding a, so a value is what? 65. So why a value is 65 it is taking? Why it is not taking or why it is not creating error? Because a is character and we are adding it to integer and float. Reason is each character in the programming language is assigned one ASCII value, and ASCII value of a is associated. ASCII value a has 65. Okay, so whenever you do any integer type of operation or mathematical operation on character, so automatically compiler or automatically runtime entity changes its value from character to its ASCII value, and then these things happen. Yes. So this is chart of ASCII value, which you can see here, and in which you can see that A value is 65, B value is 66, C value is capital C value is 67. And if you go to the small a, then its value is 97. So if I write here small a, then it will take 97 and then it will give me the output. Okay, where is that code? Yeah. So 97 plus 22, it is giving me 119.50 value. Okay. So I hope you have understood that all variables are internally stored as integer value. When they are taken as character, then they print the character value or integer value according to the requirement how you are printing them and using them. Okay. Next thing, we have also understood from this example that you can pass multiple type of values into the same function. Okay. But now I do one experiment with you with this code, and let's do it like this. So now what I have done, I have changed their sequence. In my code, what is there? I have first variable A, second variable B, third variable C. And A is of integer type, B is of float type, C is character type. But now when I am passing these values, what is happening? First is of integer type, it is matching to it. Okay. Third one is here I am passing character, but it is expecting it should be float value. Here I am passing the float value, but it is expecting character value. So it will give me error. Although it is running, but in your independent compiler at your system, it will give you error because it will call there is mismatch of the parameter passing or data passing. Okay. Now one more thing. If you remove this thing from here, so now also there is problem. Here you have two variables, here you have three variables. So sometimes you may face this type of problem. So then it will give you error. Okay, so it is saying that C undeclared first use in this function. Okay, yes, C will be undeclared, but if you do like this, then also it should give you error. Yes, so it is saying too many argument to function add number. It means you have given here many arguments as compared to the expectation which is here. Here you are expecting that there will be two argument or two input values, but here you are passing three values to the function. So that's why it is showing the error. So these type of things you must always remember that which type of value you are passing, how many values you are passing, what is their sequence, in which order they should be passed. Okay, otherwise you will get a compilation error also, that you need to keep in your mind. And since in this case it is not means giving us the error in case of when I am swapping the values, but although it is not a recommendable and it is a error, it is an error when you do these type of things. So you should make sure that correspondingly the sequence and the data type of the variable should be maintained. Otherwise you will get error in your program if you mismatch the data type or the sequence of variables. So this is some examples we have done similar to the float also. Okay, similar to means you can say it is still not running. Okay, so we were writing one program. Now we write a simple program that in which we will pass float as a pointer and int as a simple variable. Okay, so you can also do this where you are passing one integer variable and one float variable. Okay, but in this case, since both are normal variable, so it will give me error. It is giving me error because there is incompatibility of the arguments. Here this is of normal type, there is no problem, but this is of normal type, but here it is expecting pointer type. So pointer will take only address, so your responsibility to make it address. So now it will run and it will give us the output. No problem. Now what is the problem? Problem is that here b is a pointer type of variable and a is a normal variable, normal integer variable, and I am adding them. So it is saying that it is incompatibility. It should not happen. It is a problem. Correct. It is a problem because b represent address, a represent normal integer value. So what do we do with the b so that it becomes, it represent the normal integer value which is placed at memory location which is stored in b. Okay. So we will do what? We will place it star and then now it will work fine. What it is saying. Something कुछ छूट गया. Okay. Yes. So there is this problem. So you can see that you are getting output when you are adding two numbers. One you are passing as a pointer, one other one you are passing as a normal integer. So you can do this also. Okay, no problem. But since here we are not changing value of b, but we are only using it. Okay, but if it is a large program and you are doing lot of processing with the pointer, so it may be not safe to pass any value which you do not want to change using pointers. Okay, so when you are accessing only values, then it is better to use them as a call by value, and when you want to modify them, it is better to, or there is no other mechanism, you have to pass them as a call by address. But you can also mix both call by and call by value and call by address in same function also, as we have done here with, I have shown you with the example. Okay. Yes. So this is a pointer related thing and function related thing, some experiment with the function which you can also do. More things you do, more you will understand. Okay. One very important thing which we need to understand is that I am saying that you have to initialize the pointer to location it is pointing to. Okay. So if I do not initialize the pointer, what will happen? Okay. So that understanding also need to be ptr star. This pointer I have created, and we also know that if we do not assign any value, then garbage value is there in our memory, and our variable, if we want to print that variable, then garbage value is printed. Okay, like this. Okay, so now I am printing these two variables. Sorry. Printf %d, comma, where printf value of ptr star u ptr star. So I have two variables. One is of normal type, other one is pointer type. Both are uninitialized, and I want to print their values. Okay. So I am running this program. Although our program is absolutely right according to the compilation rule or language rules. Okay. So compilation process will be running fine, but there may be a problem which may occur when our program is running. Okay. Now you see and read this output. Okay. So it is saying it is giving us warning that in printf function ptr, when it is running the ptr, cannot open output file or permission denied. Okay. It means that when we are running this program, we are getting runtime error. Okay. But if you run on the software which I have told you, compiler like GCC compiler in Linux or Unix, or your compiler in Dev CPP compiler, so you will get runtime error. Your program will terminate automatically without giving you output. Okay. And that error will be segmentation fault. So what is a segmentation fault error? Segmentation fault is runtime error which may occur from multiple ways, but one of the important and one of the easy concept to understand is that pointer is a variable which can point to any memory location if it is not initialized by the programmer explicitly. So it can also point to the memory locations which are not authorized to be accessed by that program. Okay. And when that can point to that memory location and try to access the value located at that location and print that thing, so permission is denied and program is terminated because you are accessing information in a particular memory location in which you do not have access. So it is illegal access, and that's why program terminates automatically with a false, or you can say with unsuccessful status, exit status. So that is why it is always important that when you write the program and if you have pointer, you should initialize the pointer to its proper value. Okay. And if it is not, if you haven't initialized it to its proper value, then you should always write ptr equals to null, because null is a pointer location. Then it will point to null location, and it will not point to any other location. Okay. So that is the situation, that when you have uninitialized variable, it will have garbage value, but when you have uninitialized pointer variable and you want to access the information of the pointer variable, it will give you problems. Okay. It will give you segmentation error or runtime error. So you must try to avoid that thing and always declare your pointer variable as a null variable. So otherwise it will be called as a dangling pointer, that it can point to anything. Okay. So that's why it is a dangling pointer error, which sometimes becomes very frequent when we do some programming with the help of pointers. So you should try to avoid that thing. So this is the experiment with the pointer, important concept with the pointer. Okay, so this part is complete. So next part is next concept which we would like to discuss is array. Okay. So since it is time almost, so we will be starting this in the next invited lecture. And I would like to open the platform for the discussion. If you have any doubt in today's in this invited lecture, then you can discuss with me and ask your questions.
Sir, my first question is, what is the difference between declaration and definition of a variable?
Okay. In declaration, you tell about what is the type of that variable. Okay. And how much memory it will be storing or how much memory it will require. But definition means that you are actually allocating the space to that variable in the memory. Okay. A physical entity of that variable is being created. But in declaration, you are just informing that this will be the variable. So that is the difference, basic difference.
So both can
Any-
be defined in the same place of a program.
Yeah, if you define the variable, then it is automatically declared. You don't need to do it. Then definition is more powerful than the declaration. Okay. So when your variable is there and you have initialized it, it is automatically declared now. There is difference in declaration and definition when you are discussing the function. Okay. So in function, declaration separately done with the function signature or the function declaration, and function definition is the function declaration plus the body of the function.
Okay, sir. And sir, my next question is, what is the meaning of garbage value?
Garbage value means what is garbage for you?
The thing which is not going to be used more.
Which is not usable or which we don't understand. Okay, that is garbage for us. So that same case is here, that in memory some variable you have highlighted or you have taken some space in the memory and you have reserved it for the variable. Okay, and now in that space you haven't placed any value. So there cannot be any space which is means without value. In memory everywhere there will be combination of 0 1 0 1 0 1, but you don't know which space has been allocated there and what is the combination of that 0 1 0 1 there in that memory. So whatever comes out to be of that 0 1 0 1 combination in the reserved space, that will be printed when you print that variable which has not been initialized as a garbage value. So garbage value is value that we don't know what will be printed because we haven't initialized that variable. We haven't given explicitly any value to that variable.
Sir, next
I
question is,
hope
what is static variable?
Yeah, static variable are variables. Actually, there are 3-4 type of classes. Okay, so register class is there. So some variables are there. That concept is very limitedly used in C programming language. That concept is more used in your C++ language. Okay, or in other high level languages. The benefit of static variable is that it retains its value. Okay. So if you want to make multiple functions calls and you want to retain the value of any variable, then you declare that variable as a static variable. Otherwise, by default, all the variables are under auto category.
Sir,
Okay.
can you please explain it with an example?
I told you that you want to calculate a function. You want to multiple times you want to calculate the function or call the function, and you want to see that how many times that function has been called. Clear? So if you declare any variable static inside that function, that is local variable. But if
Yes.
it is not static, then when your function calls comes to the main function, then all the variables and their value will die out in the memory. Yes or no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So count will go 0 again. So any number of times you do the processing, it will always say that one time only it has been called, clear, or some processing has been done. But
Yes,
if
sir.
you want to know, you want to retain value of one particular variable so that you can know that whenever it comes to inside this function, and I have counted it and I have retained it, even though that function has completed its processing. Okay. So all
Yes.
the local variables will die out, but the static function will retain its value again and again.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. I got your points. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any other question?
Okay, I think there are no more queries right now, so we can club up this lecture. So thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate the work you are doing to ignite these young minds, and we are very thankful for providing your valuable time. Actually, I'm getting positive feedbacks directly from students. So curious minds, I think, will definitely inquire about their queries via mail or the links that you have provided. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you very much, sir. Thank you from Department of Mathematics. So
Thank
we
you.
will see you tomorrow. Okay, dear
Thank you very much
participants.
for inviting me.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, sir. Okay, so dear participants, so we all will meet at the same platform tomorrow. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye. See you tomorrow, guys. Bye.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Bye, sir.